Miss KellyAnne Zielinski, thank you so much for being here on the Get Foxy show with me today. I so appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Right off the bat, I'd like to know, what is self-leadership?
We get that question a lot. So self-leadership is the ability to lead and influence your mind, emotions, attitude, behaviors, and results. It's an idea of being able to take exactly who you are, coupled with how to be able to navigate through that in order to be able to create the lifestyle that you want to live every single day.
Now, how did you get into self-leadership? Is this something that you've always kind of had a knack for, or did you choose this profession, or did it sort of fall into your own lap?
So it sort of chose me. Okay, let me try that again. It sort of chose me. Thanks for asking, because I'll tell you, I was a teacher in Buffalo, New York, which is where I'm from, and I hit a moment of real emotional discord, and I wasn't happy with where I was in life. It's not that I didn't love teaching. I loved the students, and I loved seeing their growth every year. But it was about 4 years in when I started to come up against my own leadership and my own self-leadership. And I really felt like I was living a monotonous life. I felt like I was reliving the same week and the same month and the same year over and over, not only in my career, but in my personal life as well. And so it was the catalyst for me to put myself on a self-made study program where I started studying the most successful people in history. If you've ever studied anything by Napoleon Hill, I typically say that I pulled the Napoleon Hill route because he did the same thing. And I was really looking for not just success as far as money and career, but success in all areas of life. Like, what's the difference that makes the difference for folks who are happy in all areas of life and who are genuinely living into their ideal lifestyle, and who even know what that ideal lifestyle is. And so after about 3 years, it was about 2.5 to 3 years of diligently studying and implementing everything that I was learning, my whole life shifted. And I quit my job. I wrote a book called Intelligent Women Get What They Want. I moved across the country and started a business. And so that was really the catalyst for me to be able to step into my own self-leadership and even understand and know what that was. Because I think I was in the unconscious incompetence phase of my life for a really long time, where I didn't know that I didn't know.
So how did it come about that you started discovering these successful and influential people? You mentioned Napoleon Hill. How did you come across his work?
Great question. So, to be completely transparent, I had a rock bottom day. And in that day, I asked for a sign. And that evening, I watched my nieces overnight. And before bed, I had my youngest niece go over to my bookshelf to grab a book. And I had bought this book 2 years before and never read it. It legitimately had dust on it that I blew off. So she comes bouncing back to the bed with this book to read before bed, and it was the book The Secret. And so I read that book from cover to cover. And as you know, Bob Proctor is in The Secret, and he is a huge Napoleon Hill fan. So as Bob Proctor was talking a little bit about his story in that book, he mentioned that there was a book that changed his life. We'll come to find out that that book was actually by Wallace D. Wattles, The Science of Getting Rich, but he also mentioned the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So that's kind of how my self-made study program went. Was as soon as when I was reading books and the author or the person that was being showcased mentioned another author or another book, I would just go and read everything that I could on that author, or I would get that book almost immediately.
And what are some of your favorite books?
That's a great question. I was just chatting with somebody about this yesterday. So my all-time top 3 favorite books are A Course in Miracles, The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard, He was a New Thought leader in the early 1900s. And the book Letting Go, The Pathway to Surrender by Dr. David Hawkins. So all three of those books were completely life-shifting, life-changing for me personally.
And how did they impact your life specifically?
All three books supported me in knowing to my core exactly who I am and how powerful our essence truly is. And I think being able to step into full expanded versions of our worthiness and feeling safe and feeling loved in who we are, I don't know that it gets foxier than that.
I would agree with you 100% there, KellyAnne.
I really believe that that's where foxiness and being able to live in the essence of our truth, that's where that comes from. And that's what magnetizes. I think a lot of people are in a space of having a chasing type of essence. And when we chase, that means that we're lacking, or that we're longing for something, or we're wanting, or we're needing. But when we know who we are, and when we're in the essence of our truth and in our foxiness, that's when we magnetize, and that's when we attract.
I don't think I've had anybody say that better so far.
Thank you.
So when it comes to the self-leadership program that you teach, how does that connect to what you've just spoken about regarding foxiness?
Yes. Well, what I realized as I was going through my shift and my journey was that there were a lot of people struggling the same way that I was. A lot of people were struggling with making a choice, whether it was in career, relationship, or any area of life, and feeling like they need to stick with that choice because they didn't know any other way of being. And so what we really do is we get to the crux of your self-leadership. We take folks through 12 leadership principles. And these are not traditional leadership. We've taken the golden nuggets from traditional leadership, but it's really about leading self and then guiding others to lead themselves, and then how to be able to take our self-leadership into communities and businesses and collaborations and really be able to create influence, impact, and income from that, and do it all from a place of service and feeling like we're doing meaningful and purposeful work.
Wow.
And that's only the self-leadership curriculum. that's not including our business curriculum. So we're really passionate about supporting folks in first and foremost understanding the ideal lifestyle that they want to live, because whether they are business owners or they're in a career or whatever their situation is, if they don't understand their ideal lifestyle, their lifestyle will always come second. And so most people don't even have a lifestyle because they don't know what they want, and they don't make that choice for themselves. And it's a process of course correcting and navigating. So for example, just to give you a little bit of a story, I really thought that I wanted and was choosing to be on a yacht and to sail from, Greek island to Greek island and live this amazing, luxurious lifestyle. And last fall, I went to Europe the entire month of September, and I did that. I went on a boat and I sailed from each island, and I hated it. It was awful. I am not a boat person. I came to realize the islands were absolutely magnificent. And yes, I would have taxied from island to island, but staying all day and all night on a boat is not desirable for me. So the point of me telling that story is that we don't really know unless we try things. Things look great out here, but when we experience them, it might not be the same experience that we think it's going to be. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. Totally.
So first and foremost, we support folks in knowing who they are, what they want, what that ideal lifestyle is. And then additionally, we support folks in building business models and building careers around that lifestyle, because we believe and we have proved time and time again that you can have it all. You can have an amazing lifestyle and a thriving business. It's just a matter of having absolute clarity on what that looks like first.
Out of the many men and women that you've served, who's had the most outstanding transformation?
It's really exciting that you asked that. There's actually a gal up in northern Colorado in Fort Collins who's been with us for about 8 months. And she's gone through our Underbridge Leadership Methodology and 2 of our business intensive programs. So our foundations and our next level. The next level business intensive program is all about taking your framework that you have for your business model and turning it into online coaching products, programs, and services. And so within 8 months, she just called me last week and said that she just closed her first $150,000 contract. So, and she attributed her success to everything that she learned in Self Leadership Global and the clarity she was able to create and the positioning that she was in. So it was really exciting stuff.
Man, that is fantastic. Excellent.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
I'm going to switch gears just a little bit here, KellyAnne. And we've touched on it a little bit, but I still feel like I need to ask you the question so that we get a fuller answer. And that question is, what does Foxy and being Foxy mean to you?
It's a great question. So to me, I believe that foxiness is an essence. And I think that that essence is then projected mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually out to the world. And it creates a magnetism that is like none other. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a physical aspect of foxiness. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean, oh, you're the most beautiful person in the world, or whatever that means to people. It's really, truly an essence of clarity and confidence and certainty and worthiness and self-love and unconditional love of others, in my opinion.
Yes. Thank you for that answer. It always amazes me how I can ask that question. And it is such a subjective question, and I get these beautiful answers from every single guest. So thank you. Has there been a time in your life where it was difficult to find your foxiness? And
Oh, yes.
what did you do to eventually reclaim it?
So I didn't even I love this question so much because the first 27 years of my life, I had a very different view of what foxiness was and what attention was. And so having that different view of that, I created some really undesirable circumstances in my life, whether that was, again, career, relationships, friendships. It didn't necessarily matter. When our worthiness isn't there and when our certainty in ourself is not there, then everything shifts, because we're always magnetizing, we're always attracting, right? But it's just a matter of like, what are we bringing to us? And so, and at the time, up until 26, 27 years old, until I hit that rock bottom, that was when I was living in a completely different version of what I believed to be foxiness, and it was not desirable. At that time, around 27-ish, was when I started to put myself in that self-made study program. And that I somehow intuitively knew to do that. I really didn't know how I knew to do that. It was really after reading The Secret, and something clicked within me, and I really understood the law of attraction, and that what I was putting out into the world was what I was creating and bringing back to me. And so I think because I understood it so quickly and so vividly, it was really the catalyst for me to learn more. And the more that I was learning, it's not that I was learning about something outside of me. I was learning about aspects of me, and each little aspect led to a new result. And it felt really good to get new results. And it felt really good to love myself more and to understand more about myself. So I've been studying for 11 years, almost every single day. It's kind of addicting in a healthy way, because I don't know that we'll ever fully uncover all the aspects of our own personal foxiness and who we truly are in our self-leadership. But I love learning about it. And I think that my life feels more gentle and peaceful and desirable.
Yes. I can so relate with that. This whole personal development, personal growth, personal introspection, and learning more about myself that I've done just over the past couple of years. Yeah, I totally agree. It's a process that once you start delving into it and you start doing the work and you start getting curious about, oh, why do I think the way I think? Why am I having these thoughts about these things? Why am I so attached to this something over here? And getting curious and learning about why I do what I do is fascinating stuff. And it really does have an impact on how we show up in the world. It's really fascinating how when we do the inner work, all of a sudden the things outside of us begin to shift.
I love how you use the word curiosity, because I think that when we approach life from a curious space, it feels, again, gentle. It feels like we don't have to fight for our worth. We're not judging ourselves. We're not judging others. We're really just wondering and thinking about it. I also love how you were talking about your attachments, because that's one of the main things that Dr. David Hawkins talks about in Letting Go, the Pathway to Surrender. He talks about how not only do we have hundreds of thousands of belief systems and mental attachments, but there's a human emotional scale that every human goes through. If you've ever heard of Power versus Force, I'm sure you've heard of this emotional scale. Same author.
Yes. A couple of months ago, I came across that.
Oh, great. Yeah. So what Dr. David Hawkins says is that it's the emotions that are being brought up to be healed. And once those emotions are brought up, because we're so focused on healing the mental and the belief systems, but there's hundreds of thousands of belief systems and they will keep coming back. There's only 14 emotions, around, I think it's around 14 emotions, maybe a little bit more. But anyway, when these belief systems come up, they create emotions. And so instead of looking at the belief systems, we look at the emotions and heal those emotional attachments. And once the emotions are healed, the belief systems instantaneously dissolve because they're attached to the feeling. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, it definitely makes complete sense.
Thanks
Out of
for sharing.
curiosity, who embodies Foxy in your world right now, KellyAnne?
That's a great question. I think that there's different versions of foxiness in my world. I'm really into the online world right now and online funnels. We're creating our own YouTube channel, so I've been studying a lot. I think the people that I always look up to and admire that have been constant are definitely Oprah. Actually, when I read Oprah's story, I thought to myself, man, if Oprah can do it, then I can do it. So that was really my first inspiration, was learning about Oprah and her story. I absolutely love Tony Robbins. I think he's a complete and total inspiration. I just saw him here in Denver recently. I think those are the two that I strive most to get into their level of foxiness, because there is a grace and ease and personal power that comes with both of those individuals.
what would be one piece of advice that you would have for the Vulpanistas out there that are listening? Vulpanista, of course, is the Get Foxy Show tribe, or we're talking like fashionista, where everybody follows fashion. These are Vulpanistas. These are women who follow everything Foxy.
Boom.
So what is the one piece of advice you would have for them about how to stay Foxy?
My piece of advice is to stay in alignment with what truth means to you. Whatever that is, know yourself at your deepest core levels and stay true to that and say no to anything that doesn't align with that. Because you will feel like you are living your ideal lifestyle little by little every time you say yes to you and no to what doesn't align.
Brilliant. When you're not coaching and teaching and helping people figure out this self-leadership piece, what are you doing, KellyAnne?
I love to travel. So traveling is something that came about within the past year and a half, and I never realized the intuitive nudge that I've had towards it, and now I'm fulfilling that nudge, and my experience, my soul just absolutely loves it. So everything from road trips, 2.5-week road trips around the US to international travel, weekend getaways here in Colorado. Colorado is so beautiful. It has so much to offer. So I'm constantly exploring and stepping out of my comfort zone and stepping a little bit more into adventure.
And what are some of the most favorite places you've been?
Well, you can't tell anyone because this is a little secret spot here in Colorado. But one of my favorite places that I've been anywhere in the world is actually Mount Princeton in Buena Vista, Colorado. It is this beautiful little hidden, amazing mountain town with hot springs, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I was also recently in Santa Barbara, which was absolutely gorgeous. And there were these caves that we found, these secret caves that we wouldn't have found if we weren't on a boat in Greece. So it's been a ride, a really magical ride, and I'm excited to keep it going.
Wow. Well, Kelly, how can people find you to get a hold of you for more information about Self-Leadership Global?
Great question. I think the best way for people to learn about Self-Leadership Global is by going to www.selfleadershipglobal.com. So anything that you would ever need to know about Self-Leadership Global is on there. There's lots of videos on there. It's very interactive. And there's also opportunities to schedule on my calendar through the website as well.
And when they schedule on your calendar, what is that going to get them?
That's going to get them a free 30-minute discovery session to learn a little bit about where they're at and if we could help them. So we have a very exclusive community. We don't take everyone. I typically refer out if I feel like it's not the right fit at this time. We've said no to over 150 people, and we only have 83 that are part of the organization. So we really want to make sure that it's a win-win opportunity for everybody and that we can 100% help someone with where they're at in their business and their life.
Excellent. Well, there you go, listeners. Check out KellyAnne's website. Take her up on her offer of that free consultation and start learning about self-leadership. When you start doing this personal growth and introspection, curiosity about yourself, the possibilities are wide open for you. So please check that out. And KellyAnne, our time, if you can believe it, is already up. So I want to thank you for being here today. You are such a bright spirit, and I appreciate what you are looking to accomplish on this planet, because you are looking to raise everybody up around you. And that is huge work. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Terry. Thanks so much for having me and for showcasing Self Leadership Global. We really appreciate it.
You bet.